Good people, and we have a powerful panel that's going to dig in on this today, and we're just going to go ahead and get started, all right? So the first question I have for these amazing panelists, because all of you are ranging across policy, culture, your hit makers and all the things, because, you know, that new song did just drop, T-shirt, just want to drop that. I mean, we out here, you know, changing the game with beauty. We're doing the thing, but so many of us have these platforms. And with these platforms comes a responsibility, big and small.
That's right.
So to take meaning out of what is important for this particular moment, when did you first realize, each of you, that you had this voice and your story and your presence actually meant something in a way that was going to help move and shape a conversation? Who'd like to go first?
I'll kick us off.
I love it.
So I live by a motto. I actually have it tattooed on me, and it's a Bible verse. To whom much is given, much will be required. And I think a lot of us, you start off in your journey because you have a dream, and it's just something you want to do. But there is a point where you learn that your dream is not for you alone. You are like a straw. So your job is to get the liquid through and to the next person. And so if you can get it through you, then God will get it to you. You'll always get your blessing. But you have to figure out how to use your voice and how to use what God has given you to help, not just the finance, because life is way more than that.
Yes, thank you,
Wow.
Eva. What about you, Shamia?
You know, it's so crazy because I think I found the power in my voice, in my vulnerability, and in my darkest times, and that was with my baby girl, Shiloh. During my journey from surrogacy to my surrogate getting breast cancer. And I thought I was sharing a very joyful experience. And it started out on radio. Like, we were like, oh, yeah, we're finally pregnant via surrogacy. And it was all the judgments like, oh, she doesn't want to get pregnant herself because she doesn't want to mess up her body. And then so many other women started talking about infertility and the issues that they were having. Yeah. And then it moved from that to her being diagnosed with breast cancer. And then it became a platform for people that were battling with breast cancer or having to get double mastectomies. And it was just a whole thing. And then it was Shiloh being born prematurely with all the bells and whistles and all of the craziness that was going on with her from having over a dozen surgeries. And then it became NICU moms, NICU warriors. And it was it's like, wow, look at God. He has used me and my voice to unite so many people that are having a tough time, from, you know, just infertility to all those things that, you know, children with special needs. And while I was crying, I was like, okay, God, I see what you're doing. Can you pick somebody else? No, for the rest of it. But no, that's when I found my voice was powerful, and that, I have to use this platform and just my life to change someone else's and help someone else along the way.
Right. I mean, I'm so grateful I got to be a journey and a witness to your journey online with your families. I'm one of those friends, that was following. And so we just love Shiloh. So can we get some love for Shiloh in the building? Absolutely. All right, I'm going to go to this other couch. I'm switching and turning, y'all. This is a lot for a thick sister. All right, Kenya.
Yes. Well, first I want to say thank you so much, Monica, and to SisterSong and to Essence for this platform where we get to share our voices. My younger self is geeking out right now. The minute that I stopped code switching and started community building, right? Code switching for community building was when I really started to lean into my power and my voice. Because I've got a really interesting career. I took a very non-traditional pathway to becoming a tech executive, and that allowed me to sit in rooms in political and public policy spaces with a good congresswoman, even before she was elected. And moving into spaces where I am now, the only chief growth officer of any social platform on the internet that is a Black woman.
Come on, let's make some noise for that.
And so when you go into those spaces, though, you start to realize that I'm not the exception. I'm actually the blueprint, because Black women over-index on our usage in social media. We are the ones who create the lexicon that traverses every billboard and every marketing campaign out here. And so you start to, that should be the fuel that powers us, right? I'm not here by an exception. I'm here because I'm the blueprint. And the more that I speak up, the more that I start to model what is possible, not just for myself, but for the world that we're literally creating.
Absolutely. Can somebody say blueprint today?
Blueprint.
We're the blueprint. Tell that to yourself. I'm the blueprint.
I'm the blueprint.
Yes, let's move that on forward. Dominique Morgan, how are you doing, beautiful sister?
I'm good, sis. How are you?
I'm wonderful.
Can y'all hear me? Yeah. Okay. I felt like I was known, and I felt like I understood what my voice was. First global model for Apple ever. First black trans woman in the history of the world to have a street named after her. All those things. But it was TikTok that gagged me. And it's been literally in the last 3 months where I realized the way that I'm able to engage with community on that app, specifically black women, black biological women, black cis women, whatever word feels affirming to you, as a black trans woman, to focus on building strong and authentic relationships that I know are the disruptor to many of the barriers we have to what I think will be a universal black liberation. And so that is what's gagged me. So it's been like 3 months of feeling like I can be funny. I can talk about activism. I can talk about clothes. I can talk about Nelly and Ashanti if I want to, but I still can thread.
Can we talk about them? Bless their heart.
Whatever you want to do, madam, but I can still thread me through it. Yeah. And I'm seeing how people, Coco from SWV stopped me in the lobby and said, I love you. I could have been, you could have put me up under the People's Hotel.
It happened.
So those moments have really been eye-opening.
Yes, I love that. I love that. And I also enjoy riding along this journey with you as you are embracing all those parts of yourself. Congresswoman, can we just take a moment, y'all? Yes. This is my Congresswoman #1. But also,
yes.
Come on, A-Town. But can we just take a moment to give this Congresswoman a round of applause? I don't think that we understand what our elected officials that are on our side, that are for the people, right, are having to encounter in this moment and what they're having to stand up against in those halls every single day. And you are doing that with such power, and you do that so authentically. And so I'm grateful that you're my Congresswoman, but I'm also grateful that you're doing this work for the American people in general. And so what was that defining moment for you? Because I know that your journey is just so, it's been a beautiful one. But can you give us one of those points in those journeys where you saw that defining moment for yourself?
Well, first, thank you, Monica and SisterSong, for having me on this stage today, because this conversation should be held on the main stage for the masses to hear. So I am grateful for Essence and SisterSong for this opportunity. Y'all, I am Congresswoman Akima Williams, and I proudly represent Georgia's fighting 5th Congressional District. And I just know that when I found that moment, it wasn't because I'd been elected to office. And I listened to the stories of the ladies on the stage with me, and none of you are elected to office, because a lot of people think that it's just up to the elected officials to speak out. It's just up to the elected officials to make change. But the change doesn't happen from Washington, y'all. The change happens with the people. I understand that I'm operating in a system that was not designed for or by people who look like me, but I'm determined to make it work for all of us. And I cannot do that alone. So these partnerships, these relationships are so important. And that takes me back to long before I was elected to office, when I remember being in the West End, in the headquarters of SisterSong, and those billboards went up, Monica, around black women and policing how we bring our children into the world, Shami. And we know that every birth is different. Yes. Every journey is different. Yes. But here they were telling us that we were criminals for making decisions about our childbirths, our lives, and our livelihoods. And so all of this has prepared me to be your voice in Congress, but I don't think it was one defining moment. My husband often says that I'm the Lorax. If somebody needs speaking for, Nakima will speak for them. Yes. And so I take that serious, because there are so many people that don't understand that they have the voice and the power, but I am here to be their voice.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Congresswoman Akima Williams. So we're going to jump into some fiery questions, y'all, because we are here talking about bodies, sexuality, the culture, and how all of these roads meet. And that is what reproductive justice is, for those who may not know. It is a movement created by black women. It is over 30 years old. It was created to give us a more intersectional approach, for us to be able to think about our human rights and the ability to make our own decisions about our bodies, our families, and our futures. And so this work requires us to think about each of these elements that you all are bringing to the table very intentionally. So I'm going to start back with you, Congresswoman, because we know what just has happened in Congress. You know, there's this big, ugly, nasty, disgusting bill, right, that just went through that is going to have a devastating impact, right, on Americans. We know what's at stake. We know what we're up against with this administration. So how in this time are you, within all of the power that you hold as a congressperson, helping us think about what is most important for Black people, and how are you making it an important thing that you move to the front of your conversations with Black women? And how are you also centering that in joy, even in the midst of the hardships that we're up against?
So I think it's first important to understand what actually happens. And so I try to show up in all the spaces in all the ways, because people shouldn't have to come to their member of Congress for the information. I'm going out to your events. I'm showing up in your community. I'm showing up at the barbershops. I'm showing up at the bar. And any place that the conversations are being held, our people need to hear what is actually happening. 17 million people losing their health care, that means someone in this room, someone you know, someone you love. And you can't talk about that without thinking about the intersectional lens of what this all means. When you think about Georgia, the state that I represent, the state that I was born in, when over half of our counties don't even have an OBGYN, over half. When over half of the childbirths are covered by Medicaid, but yet we are cutting Medicaid funding by the tune of $1 trillion to give tax cuts to billionaires. That's not okay. And so we have to make it plain. We have to make sure people understand what is happening. Shamia, I went to the NICU at the New Children's Healthcare Hospital. 71% of the babies in the NICU were covered by Medicaid.
Yes.
But yet we are cutting Medicaid in the state, in this country, and in Georgia. So we have to make sure that we bring the information to the people, and then strategize and organize with the people on how we make change in this country for all of us who need it most.
Absolutely. I'm going to turn over to this couch now. Y'all know I'm like a little teapot. I'm like really short and stout, but I'm a sexy teapot though, right?
Yes, you are.
Okay. So speaking of sexy, there's very sexy things happening on this couch. In particular, I want to come to you, Eva, because we learned and we became your friend when we saw your beautiful face and all that you brought to the television screens of being America's Next Top Model and all the things that you have done. But you have taken that journey on, you've taken a beautiful journey with that, right? And you have now moved into acting, and you have like built such a powerful legacy of work that you're leading, right? So in the conversations that you were having, because you were also on a very controversial show that's like showing us how to smash the patriarchy in a very interesting way. But when you think about how those things come to a head for you, the way that you've had to break through barriers in beauty, and the way that you're also breaking through barriers in the roles that you're playing, how do we continue to disrupt the narratives that are not helping to shape us in the best ways as Black folks, and how are you using your platform to do so?
Absolutely. So I started off, like you said, on America's Next Top Model, and my journey has been very not conventional, so to say. From my height to everything that a model should be, I was told I was not. And so to do a show like Top Model and to find myself on the cover of magazines in the face of CoverGirl, which is beauty, when they said I was androgynous or I was this and I was that. So I feel like my entire career has been dealing with unconventional realities. But I think that is the truth of who Black women are, period. We live in an unconventional reality, and we make this thing home, we make it ours, no matter where we are. And so the industry that I have found myself playing in fashion and acting, they're industries that put you in a box. So if you have your favorite guy from that cop show, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna see him again, he's gonna be in another procedural show. So we like to put each other in a box, and I've decided I'm too big for a box. I'm too big for a bag. I'm too big for any of those
That's
things.
what I'm talking about.
And I don't mean too big in my meanness, but in my what God has created for me and what God is doing through me. It's too big to be contained.
That's right.
And so when I look at a show like All the Queen's Men, where you have, thank you.
I know y'all watching. I knew y'all was watching.
The roles are so reversed, where you see men are usually in those power positions and women are the ones on the other end. You see it flipped over. And what I love is that we show what real beauty is, because we're not changing anything. We're enlightening and letting people know the truth. The truth is that every single person on this stage and in this room is beautiful. Now, when you learn your beauty, then other people will start to get it. But you have to know it for yourself. It's not about what they say on a magazine. There is no size. There is no color. There is no texture. Shout out to the Crown Act. That is better than the other. We are beautiful, and it is about us understanding that. I locked my hair, and I locked my hair because my daughter has locked hair. And I want her to see a reflection of herself. And so when I move around in business on my television show, I wanted my locks. They wanted to put a wig on me. I didn't want a wig. They wanted to put different things to make my body look more curvy. That is not my shape. It is not my truth. And I have to fight against that. And why don't you wear the butt pad? Because it's not my truth.
It's not my truth.
And I need other women that have a small snake hip frame like me to understand that they are as beautiful as this Coke bottle right here. And how do you know that unless you see it? How do you understand it? And so I would like to use my life to be the representation and to walk down the journey of the roads less traveled, to go ahead and be that person and stand in the gap and in the clutch and say, you know what, she did it, I can do it too.
Absolutely. Come through, Eva. Now, we have a few more minutes left, and the last three folks who are going to be able to bring their brilliance to the stage today are all important culture bearers.
Yes.
First of all, I want to go with you, Kenya, because you are holding a powerful piece of culture at Spill, right? And, you know, you're breaking this barrier on technology, and I know that that's not easy to do as a Black woman and in this political moment. So I'm going to give each of you your questions as culture bearers to be able to bring your voices to the stage. So for you, Kenya, especially as we're thinking about Spill, y'all know about Spill? I bet you about to know about it if you don't know.
Y'all better download Spill from the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store.
Come on. Okay. But you all see culture as strategy. So how have you helped messaging around some of the biggest fights of our time using the platform and what you come to this culture with as a political strategist? And how do you see the importance of bridging policy and pop culture together?
Well, firstly, I want to say thank you to my entire team at Spill, to our co-founder and CEO, Alfonso Terrell, who gave this very, non-traditional pathway girly an opportunity to lead in tech and use my skill set that was highly transferable. For those of you who don't know me and are meeting me for the first time, I am 2.5 years into leading a social tech startup company, but came by way of public policy, civic engagement, crisis management, fundraising, and then cultural strategy and entertainment. And in all of those places, what I learned is that you have to move people first, right, before you move systems, right? You got to move people first. And furthermore, that the best legislation comes from what moves people. Yeah. And culture inherently is the inertia that keeps us all moving in ecosystems, right? So the power of having a social platform at a time like this, we're really building Spill, the only Black-owned app to ever be #1 in the Apple App Store.
The only.
Come on. And we understand that being Black is not enough, right, in that space, which is why Fast Company named us most innovative in social, and we've been Apple App of the Day as well. What we recognize is that Spill is intended to be a cultural intelligence engine, y'all. I need you to rethink how we are using social media. And when we look at the biggest bullies in the world with the most amount of money acquiring social platforms, why are they doing that? Because of the cultural intelligence that you so freely give these platforms. So when you post your best on other people's platforms that you don't own, I want you to think about the cultural intelligence that you were feeding to systems that are then being trained to operate against you. And after that sits and sizzles in your spirit, I want you to think about giving your best to a platform that was built from the ground up, like Spill, to be culturally competent in moderation and content, right? And to think about a world where we are centered in policy and practice digitally, and what is possible when we own our stories, because then we can own our shifts. We can't own the shift if we don't own the stories first.
That's real.
Absolutely.
Oh, my God. Oh, God. This is getting good, right? Okay, we got to keep going because we don't want to get in trouble. All right, Dominique, let me tell you something. You have been such a powerful voice in so many ways, right? We know the history. We thank you for bringing in some of the things that you have done that have just been so transformative. But you've also been vocal about celebrity culture. You've also been vocal about how important it is for us to make sure that we are interacting with culture in a way where we're pulling out the things that we need to be talking about as Black people. So how do you think celebrity narratives in particular, whether it's Nelly or Ashanti, or the silence around Diddy, right, that we've seen shape what we believe is possible or acceptable? And Shamia, I want to throw your question out right quick too. As someone who's been both the beauty and in the public life, in the ways that you have, how do you personally navigate what to share, protect, or politicize, especially around your body and your own personal experiences? So both of you, I want you to speak to like what that has meant for you as culture bearers and the way that you hold it. So I'll start with you, Dominique.
My biggest focus is thinking about cultural capital, right? We know about financial capital, but how our voices, how our platforms position us to change the culture. And there are people who will say, I'm not supposed to be a role model for your child, this, that, and the third. Once you sign up for the platform to be monetized, you've signed up to understand there is responsibility associated with it. That being said, when I look at my cultural capital, and you can't understand your cultural capital if you don't understand yourself, I believe the things that I discuss, I don't talk about every celebrity issue, but even the Nelly and Ashanti piece was, I, as a Black trans woman, have seen the way the world has indoctrinated and harmed Black women who are born with a uterus in ways they won't try to oppress me. A man will never look at me and say, I'm gonna sit you down for the summer because you're too powerful. A man will never look at me and tell me, I'm gonna ask you to have your child, but you won't help me change the diapers for the first 2 years. That won't be my experience, and when other biological women say it, they can call y'all a hater. They can say this and the third. I can say, you don't say that to me, brother. And I know online they're telling you they don't see Black trans women as women, but my text messages say different, amen?
What?
And so based on that, you understand and you navigate various type of women based on the type of games you can play and the way society has had it set up. So whether it's through a laugh, whether it's me having a serious moment, whether it's me saying, because the justice system doesn't incarcerate you, does not mean that you are not a terrible person.
That's right.
And we should not figure out how to protect Black women.
Say that.
I believe that is my investment culturally to the existence of a woman who has allowed my existence to be here. And it's also how I build bridges and repair foundations that will get us to a space where more of us will be protected like many of us are up here, and less of us will be out here like Cassie fighting for a Black man to give a fuck about us.
Absolutely. Shamia, they gonna cuss us out. But you know we love Black people. All right, Shamia, bring us home, dear sis, because you have been building this intersection as well. So how have you built these bridges?
You know, I found a lot of love in my transparency and, like I said, my vulnerability. I love what Eva said earlier, you know, with snake body, embrace it. When I see Eva, I see fine. I see beautiful. And it's not just that outer beauty that just completely captivates you, but it's her heart, because when I was in the NICU, she was calling and texting, sending sunflower pics, and I was like, wow, you know, like, thank you. You know, it's those things that really makes you more open, vulnerable, and transparent. We're a sisterhood, you know? We're a family, and we all come from different walks of life. And I feel like when we're open and we're transparent and we're vulnerable, like the light shines on us even more. Because in my moments this season when I was insecure because people were asking, do you have vitiligo? Like, what is happening with you? Because I had spots from my ectopic pregnancy, or people were saying, did you get lipo? Because I was moving a certain way, right? But it was my story to share in my own time. So when they would comment on my page about it, I would respond and say, oh yeah, that's just ectopic pregnancy marks.
That's right.
And they would feel so uncomfortable about my response. Some would eat it and say, I'm so sorry, I didn't know, you know. But then others would say, yeah, right. And I was totally okay either way. Because the best thing about me being open and confident in who I am, block and delete is my best friend.
Come on.
And it just shows me the goodness and the grace of God, because the more I'm open, the more someone else that sees themselves in me can be open and be honest and be vulnerable like me.
Y'all, can y'all give it up for this panel? If you didn't learn nothing today, you learned how reproductive justice is the blueprint. You also learned that we are the blueprint. You learned that our vulnerability is important and that we all got to stand powerfully in that. You also learned that, baby, be authentically you. You also learned that, you know, as black women, we got to do this thing together, right? All of us together. You also learned that we got to get involved. We got to be in our community. We got to do what we got to do. And you also learned that we got our own places that we got to invest in to make sure that we are holding on to our narrative and the cultural power that we have. Thank you all so much. My name is, again, Monica Simpson. We're going to turn this stage over before we get cursed out, but let's keep this thing going.